أنا يا أخي في الله واسمع منهجي خذ يا أخي في الله بيدي وساعدي سلفية في النهج نهج الأنبياء وجميع أصحاب الرسول محمد.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome back to Manhaj Mondays. This is the show in which we study the Manhaj of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and we study it every Monday. What is Manhaj? In summary, it is the methodology of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We have Aqidah, right? Aqidah is where we study the creed, which is kind of like the theoretical side of studying the creed. Manhaj is the practical application of what you study in Aqidah. How the Prophet ﷺ manifested and actualized this creed, this belief, this aqidah that we as Muslims are supposed to have. So inshallah ta'ala, before we begin, just a quick reminder, this series, at the end of it, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to have a test and I'm going to give a £500 prize to the one who gets the best marks, inshallah ta'ala. A little bit of an incentive to get you guys involved, inshallah ta'ala, even though you should be doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, primarily. Another thing I just want to mention is that whenever I do a series, Manhaj Mondays, at the bottom in the comments, people always ask me questions that I've already been previously answered in the previous videos. And I always say to you guys at the beginning that Manhaj Mondays is a series where we are connecting dots. We are building a foundation. Every lesson actually relies upon the lesson before it. So you will not understand fully what I'm trying to say to you if you haven't watched the previous lessons. So for that reason, I always say, if this is the first time that you're watching Manhaj Mondays, you clicked on this and you're like, whoa, what's Manhaj Mondays? Never watched it before. Go to the playlist section of this channel and go and watch the first video and work your way up. Because that way you understand and a lot of your questions will be answered. Remember, each domino that falls in a row of dominoes needs the domino before it to knock it over. Otherwise that domino won't move. So in order for this penny to drop in your mind at the end of this lesson, you need to have the lesson before it. Right? Just like a domino needs the domino that comes before it. So inshallah ta'ala, today in this lesson I want to clear up a question that a lot of people ask pertaining to this topic of manhaj. We say that the manhaj that we follow is the manhaj of the Salaf. Who are the Salaf? The Sahaba radiallahu anhum and the two generations that came after them. Why? Because these were the generations who communicated to us the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Whenever you hear a hadith, you say Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated, Aisha radiallahu anha narrated, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu narrated, right? You always quote a companion because there's no way for you to get to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam without a chain that goes through the companion to the Prophet. So we say the same way you trust the companions when it comes to the wording of the hadith, you should also trust the companions when it comes to the meaning and the understanding and the interpretation of the hadith, right? The same way they were there, so they understood the wording better than me and you. They obviously understood the meaning as well because we weren't there to be taught the meaning. So we said that's why we follow the Salaf, and I went into this in a lot more detail in a previous video. But we have people, they come out with this thing and they say, Salafiyyah only started 200 years ago. They say, you guys say, follow the Salaf, follow the first three generations. But this whole concept of following the first three generations only came about in the last 200 years. So, really and truly, you're not following the first three generations because they never had this concept of following Salaf. You guys invented this concept 200 years ago, 250 years ago. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I think about this, I genuinely think to myself, the person who's issuing this and spewing this out has taken no time whatsoever in any way, shape, or form to even understand what Salafiyyah really means, nor have they got any concept in any way, shape, or form of the reality of those three generations and how they did live by this principle of adhering to the Salaf before them. And I'm going to prove that to you today, inshallah ta'ala. And hopefully after this will not be a problem. Let's first start off by defining what Salaf means, linguistically and technically. Even though I've done it in a lot more detail in previous videos, just to refresh your minds, let's start. Imam Ibn Faris in his Mu'jam Maqayis al-Lugha, which is a very well-renowned, well-established, well-respected classical dictionary of the classical Arabic language, he mentions, when it comes to the word Salaf, he said, As-Sin, Wal-Lam, Wal-Fa. These are three letters. These are three letters of the Arabic alphabet that make up the word Salaf, right? Sin, Lam, Fa. What does it mean? He says, Aslun, the foundation, the root of this word, Yadullu, it indicates, it means, Ala taqaddumin wa sabaqin. It means taqaddam. What does taqaddam mean? It means that which came before. That which was before you. What does sabaqin mean? Again, it's a synonym for the same word. That which preceded you. That which was before you. So for example, my dad is a Salaf to me because he was what? he was a sabiq to me. He was a predecessor to me, okay? He was before me, he was earlier than me, he was taqdeem to me. Do you understand? I came later. So I am from the Khalaf, me, in terms of my lineage, of my ancestors, my ancestry. I am from the Khalaf, those who came after, okay? That's why Khalifa is used for the one who came after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, okay? Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is the Khalifa of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he came after the Prophet, but the Prophet is a Salaf to Abu Bakr. And the Prophet used this example when he was talking to his wife, his daughter Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha. What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say to her? When he was going to die, what did he say? He said, I am a Salaf to you, meaning I'm going to die before you. I'm before you, Fatima. You're going to follow me. You're going to die after me. I'm a Salaf. So this wording was used by the Prophet himself. The word Salaf. And the word Salaf is used in the Quran as well. So that's the linguistic meaning of the word Salaf. But when we say Salafiyyah in terms of Manhaj, in terms of Aqidah, what do we mean? Do we just mean, ancestry, those who came before? No, because that's a very broad way of explaining it. We're talking about a specific type of Salaf. When we talk about Salaf, we talk about the Sahaba, we talk about the students of the Sahaba who are called the Tabi'een, Imam Hassan al-Basri, inshallah Imam Abu Hanifa, because the strongest view is that he was a Tabi'i, he met the companions of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, Imam Zuhri, Imam Qatada, Dhahak, Mujahid, the list goes on. All of these men, right? Abu Muslim al-Khawlani, the list goes on. The very second generation who came after the Sahaba, they're the second generation, they're also part of the Salaf. And the third generation that comes into this is what? Is the Atba'u Tabi'een. Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ishaq ibn Rahwiya, Abu Ubaid ibn Qasim al-Sallam, Imam al-Bukhari, and the rest of them. Those were from the third generation. So you have the Sahaba, their students, and then the students of the Sahaba. Okay? When we talk about these three generations, when we talk about Salaf, we mean these three generations. And what do we mean? We mean that they are better than us and they preceded us in terms of time, number one, because they were the earliest generations. Number two, they preceded us in terms of virtue, they were better than us. They preceded us in terms of knowledge, in terms of understanding of the religion. So we should follow them. And we should use them as role models. And we should use them as a benchmark to explain our religion to us. Okay? That's what we mean technically. Istilahan, shar'an, when we use the word Salafiyyah, that's what we mean. Okay? So linguistically, it means anything or anyone that came before you that preceded you. Technically, it means specifically who? The Sahaba who preceded you. Preceded you in what? In terms of virtue, in terms of knowledge, in terms of understanding. And the next two generations after them. That's important that you understand. We're talking about them preceding us in terms of knowledge, in terms of virtue, in terms of khair, in terms of piety, in terms of them having the best understanding and interpretation of the Quranic ayat and the prophetic ahadith. Now, what's my evidence for this? Because when I gave you the linguistic definition, my evidence was I brought you the dictionary, right? If you go there, you find that these Arabic dictionaries, they present to you, further references with regards to the meanings of the words in the Arabic language. Sometimes they'll even give you poetries and whatnot and examples of how the Arabs used to use these words, okay? When we're talking about it technically, I can't just bring you an Arabic dictionary. I have to bring you an ayah from the Quran or a prophetic hadith. You know what? I'm going to bring you an ayah. And then I'm going to bring you a hadith. Then I'm going to bring you a statement from a Sahabi himself. Then I'm going to bring you statement from a Tabi'i, one who is from the next generation. And then I'm going to bring you a statement from someone who is from the third generation. So ayah, hadith, Sahabi, Tabi'i. And then someone from the Atba'u Tabi'in. I'm going to show you from this whole chain. This concept of Salaf existed back then, okay? Allah is telling us to be those who follow the Salaf. The Prophet is telling us to follow the Salaf. The Salaf themselves followed the Salaf, okay? Inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to prove that to you now. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ayah number 100, Surah At-Tawbah. Open up your Mus'haf with me and read. وَالسَّابِقُونَ. What was that word? وَالسَّابِقُونَ. Allah started the ayah with that. Sabiqun comes from the word sabaq that I just told you. What does salaf mean? Salaf means sabaq, right? The one who preceded you. Sabiq is the one who preceded you, right? Sabiqun is not one, but it's the plural of those who preceded you. So Allah's talking to us about salaf right now. Salaf means sabaq, one who is from the Salaf, he is a Sabiq. Here Allah is talking about the Sabiqun. Sabiqun, anyone who studied basic Arabic grammar knows Sabiqun is a Jam' Mudhakkar Salim. It is a masculine plural. So it shows you 3 or more. Okay? So Allah is talking about the plural of those who preceded us. Allah is talking about the plural in terms of Salaf. The plural of the Salaf. So Allah is talking to us about the Salaf right now. What does He say about them? He said, Awwaloon. From the beginning, the ones who were first. Again, echoing and reinforcing that meaning of the word Salaf. The ones who came first, the ones who came before. السابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار. Allah is saying, the Sabiqun, Awwaloon. Those who preceded you, who came first from the Muhajirin and the Ansar. Who are the Muhajirin and the Ansar? Anyone who studied any basic seerah. Any basic seerah. Even if you study a seerah that's not even authentic, it will tell you Muhajirin and Ansar. Muhajirin is the Sahaba from Mecca, who when they became Muslim, they migrated and they left Mecca. They did a hijrah. That's why they called Muhajirin or Muhajirun, because they did hijrah. They left Mecca and did a hijrah, so they became known as the ones who did hijrah. Muhajirun, in other words, in Arabic. They left Mecca to go to Medina. Al-Ansar is who? It's the companions in Medina who gave nusra to those who came from Mecca to Medina. What does nusra mean? It means they helped. They helped. Remember when they came and the Prophet paired them up and they said, they gave you, they offered them, their houses, their wealth. They said, we're going to take care of you, right? They welcomed their brothers who came from Mecca to Medina. They welcomed them with open arms. So they helped with housing, with food, with whatever have you. They got them married to their women. So Al-Muhajirun is the Sahaba from Mecca, and the Ansar are the Sahaba from Medina who helped them from Mecca, the ones who migrated. What does Allah just told us about them? As-Sabiqun. They are those who preceded you. In other words, they are your Salaf. They are the Salaf. So what does Allah tell us? Allah mentions this group of companions, then He mentions another group. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ. Those who followed them. Followed who? Allah first mentions the Sahaba from Mecca, Medina, those who migrated, those who helped. Then Allah mentions another group, the group of people who followed these Sahaba. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ. Ittiba, to follow, to obey, to go in accordance with them. So these are 2 groups. The group who are themselves the Salaf, the Sahaba, and then those who are going to be following the Sahaba. What does Allah tell us about them? رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah is pleased with them. Allah is pleased with who? Allah is pleased with the Sahaba. Why? Because they are the Sahaba. And then Allah is pleased with the group of people who follow the Sahaba. So Allah is pleased with the Sahaba, and the Sahaba are As-Sabiqun, and As-Sabiqun means Salaf. So the Sahaba are Salaf, and Allah is saying Allah is pleased with those who follow the Salaf. I just told you the word Sabiq means, the word Salaf means Sabiq or Sabaq, and Allah used the same word. It's a synonym. It's a synonym. It's a synonym. It means the same thing. And Allah used that same word to show you. Allah is telling you He will be pleased with the companions, and He's pleased with those who follow the companions, i.e. the Salaf. And then what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? He said, وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ وَأَعَدَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا ذَلِكَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, it is these people, these 2 groups of people, the Sahaba and then those who follow them, the Salaf and those who follow them. Allah says, these are the ones who Allah is going to place in Jannah. In other words, you want Allah to be pleased with you, huh? Follow them. If you want Allah to be displeased with you, don't follow them, because this is a rule that we have in usul al-fiqh. If anyone studies basic usul al-fiqh. Usul al-fiqh is the subject of how to understand meanings from the Quran, how to benefit meanings from the Quran, right? And how to extract evidence from the Quran. We have something called mafhum al-mukhalafa. Write this down. Mafhum al-mukhalafa. Mafhum al-mukhalafa means that if you have an ayah and it mentions something, the opposite can be taken. The opposite meaning can also be taken. So if Allah said He is pleased with those who follow the Sahaba, the opposite is He is not pleased with those who don't follow them. So Allah defined the Sahaba as Sabiqun. Sabiqun means as Salafiyyun, the Salaf. So Allah is pleased with those who follow the Salaf. Allah is not pleased with those who do not follow the Salaf. Does that make sense, my beloved brothers and sisters? Allah will give them Jannah. Means Allah will not give Jannah to those who don't follow them. Good. Surah At-Tawbah. Barakallahu fiqh wa jazakallahu khayra. Hadith from the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام في صحيح مسلم عن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها قالت عائشة رضي الله عنها our mother, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deal with those who insult her accordingly as they deserve to be dealt with. She said, سأل رجل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. A man asked a question to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. Pay attention. He said, أي الناس خير? He said, which of the people are the best? The Prophet said, القرن الذي أنا فيه. The Prophet said, the best of people is the generation and the people that I am from. Who is the Prophet from? His generation was the Sahaba. So they're the best. And we just took that from the ayah before, right? But then the Prophet adds, ثم الثاني. Then the best after them, he said, is the next generation, which we call the tabi'een. What does tabi'een mean? The ones who, what did Allah say? وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُم اتِّبَاهُم وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُم. Those who followed who? The Sahaba. Why do we call the tabi'een? Because they do ittiba'. It's from the word ittiba'. The ones who do ittiba', the ones who follow are called tabi'een. So the tabi'een are the ones who follow the Sahaba. So the Prophet said, this is the next generation. ثم الثاني. And then the Prophet said, ثم الثالث. Then after it's the third generation, the generation of Imam Ahmad. أتبع التابعين, the ones who followed the companions. So again, we have a clear-cut textual evidence from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there's many hadith like this, different wordings. There's a hadith that's in Sahihain, Bukhari, Muslim as well, narrated from many companions. There's one from Nu'man ibn Bashir, one from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. There's one from Imran ibn Hussein, and then now we just took one from who? We took one from Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. This is a very famous hadith. هذا حديث مشهور جدا والله. Very famous. Everyone knows it. These two generations. The Prophet ﷺ, the ayah told us what? The ayah told us the Sahaba. They're from the Sabiqun. They're from the Salaf. Right? And the hadith added on. These are the two generations. Textual evidence. Now, is this something that came around 200 years ago? This is a concept that came out 1400 years ago when the Quran was revealed, my brothers and sisters. Don't let the people play with you and fool you and deceive you. Now, I want to go to a statement of a Sahabi himself and show you how the Sahaba understood this concept of Salaf, that we have to follow the Salaf. And if you don't follow the Salaf, you're misguided. Pay attention. There was a group called the Khawarij. The Khawarij came out and they revolted against Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu. They revolted against him. And then they eventually killed him. They are the dogs of the hellfire, and their descendants are none other than the likes of ISIS, Daesh, and the rest of them that you see today. They are their sons and their daughters. These Khawarij, when they came out to fight against Ali and rebel against him, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, the cousin of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he went to debate with them. He went to debate with them to establish the proof, and he went to try to guide them. Say, what you're doing is misguidance. You're upon innovation. You're leaving the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and you're trying to bring out your swords on who? The cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. Look at what he used as evidence to prove that they were misguided. He used the fact that they didn't have any Sahaba with them. In other words, what did we just learn? That the Sahaba are from the Salaf. As-Sabiqun. Remember, don't forget what Salaf means. Don't let, so and so teach you what Salaf means. No, this is an Arabic word. We're going to take it from the Arabic language. We're going to go to the Quran and Sunnah. What do these words mean? Salaf mean, I told you the Prophet used the word when he described how his relationship to Fatima. In other videos I've explained, Allah used the word Salaf in the Quran to explain this concept. Then I told you it means sabaq, and I brought you an Arabic dictionary. Then I told you the word as-sabiqun in the Quran was used to describe the plural of those who came before you, which means Salaf. I showed you this already. So now I'm going to show you that this concept of following the Salaf, following the Sabiqun, was embedded in the minds of the Sahaba. And they used this to prove that Ali radiallahu anhu was guided and they were misguided. What is it? Imam al-Hakim أخرج, he is the one, he narrated this في المستدرك, in his مستدرك, وغيره بإسناد صحيح, and other people narrated it as well with an authentic chain. What did Abdullah ibn Abbas say? فكان مما قال له للخوارج استدلالا منه على ضلالهم. When he came out to the Khawarij, he said the following statement as an evidence to prove they're misguided, to prove that they were wrong and Ali radiallahu anhu was on the haqq. He said, وَانظُرُوا لَيْسَ فِيكُم مِّنْهُمْ أي من الصحابة أحد. He says, look inside yourselves. Look at your ranks. I'm looking at you guys right now. I'm seeing you. Look at yourselves. There is no one amongst you from the Sahaba. Not even one. There's not even one Sahabi from amongst you. No one from the Muhajirun, no one from the Ansar. I don't see none of them with you. I don't see Ali, I don't see Abu Hurairah, I don't see, Abdullah ibn Umar, I don't see no one from them amongst you. Meaning you have opposed the Salaf. You have opposed the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Meaning you should be following them. Why is Abdullah ibn Abbas, he could have brought ayah, he could have brought hadith, and he did later on. But the point is, he starts off with this. The fact that they don't have any Salaf amongst them, that they don't have any Sahaba amongst them. This concept, so the same way, this is exactly what we do. When someone brings me a hadith, I say, who from the Sahaba understood it with you? Who do you have from the companions of the Prophet that understood this ayah like this? You celebrate Mawlid. Who from the companions understood it like this? You say, we're going to take this ayah and we're going to use it to justify killing people on the streets and doing suicide bombing and doing these attacks. Okay, who do you have from the Sahaba? And we say to them exactly what Abdullah ibn Abbas, we said, Wanduru, look, there is no one from amongst you, from the Sahaba who held this view. You don't have one example, one Sahabi who understood this ayah hadith like you. We learned this from Abdullah ibn Abbas, not from ourselves, not 200 years ago. This is 1400 years ago, my brothers and sisters. Khair, inshallah. Let's move on. I'm going to give you an example from someone from the Tabi'in. Let's go to Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah ta'ala. أخرج مسلم في مقدمة الصحيح. Imam Muslim narrated this in the introduction of his Sahih. You know the Sahih Bukhari, Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. In the introduction of Sahih Muslim, Imam Muslim he brings the statement. And Ali ibn Shaqiq, rahimahullah, أنه قال. Ali ibn Shaqiq said, سمعت Abdullah ibn Mubarak. He said, I heard Abdullah ibn Mubarak. If you don't know, get to know. Everyone knows Abdullah ibn Mubarak, the famous scholar, alim, mujahid, rahimahullah ta'ala, rahmatan wasi'ah. He said, I heard Abdullah ibn Mubarak يقول, he used to say, and he was saying, على رؤوس الناس, he used to say to the people, دعوا حديث عمرو بن ثابت. He used to say, stay away from the hadith, the narrations of this man called Amr ibn Thabit. Why? فإنه كان يشتم السلف. فإنه كان يشتم السلف. What did he say? He said, because he's a man who insults the Salaf. He insults the Salaf. He insults them. He disses them. There's so much that you can take from this. Number one, he is from who? He is from the Salaf. Yeah, and he's not only is he using the concept of Salaf, not only is he using this concept. I'm sure no one will disagree that we have to follow the Salaf. I've given you enough evidence here. We were told to follow these three generations. He himself is using the term Salaf. And who was the Salaf to him? At that time, the Salaf was none other than the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. So how was this 200 years ago? I just told you can find this statement in the introduction of Sahih Muslim by Imam Muslim. This book was written when? It was compiled when? 1200 years ago. Imam Muslim 1200 years ago compiled these narrations. This narration was not 1200 years ago. It was before 1200 years, but he compiled it 1200 years ago. So I'm saying to you, where are you getting that we took this 200 years ago? At the very least, this is Imam Muslim's time, over a millennium. Where did we learn this from? Do you think we pulled it out of our back pockets? Imam Muslim. And I give you a final example from someone from the third generation, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah ta'ala, Imam Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. What did he say? In his famous book, his famous Risala, Usul Sunnah, he said, أصول السنة عندنا التمسك بما كان عليه أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والاقتداء بهم. He said the foundation of the sunnah, in terms of the sunnah, when he says sunnah here, he means the sunnah of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, in terms of his aqidah of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. He said the foundation, usul sunnah to us. He is from the Salaf. He's saying, according to us, Imam Ahmed, he's speaking on behalf of who? Of all of the Salaf. Imam Ahmed, when he says, عندنا, the foundation of the Sunnah of the Prophet to us, he's speaking on behalf of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Hassan al-Basri, al-Bukhari. He's speaking on behalf of all of these men. He said, usul sunnah عندنا, the foundation of the Sunnah to us is what? التمسك بما كان عليه أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said the foundation of the Sunnah to us is that we hold on to that which the Sahaba of the Prophet was upon, in terms of their understanding of the religion, in terms of their way of life. وَالْإِقْتِدَاءُ بِهِمْ, and to follow them, to obey them. Barakallahu feek wa jazakallahu khair. Is this clear now? The Sahaba, we established that they were the Salaf. I brought you ayah. I brought you one, I could have brought you many. If you go to previous videos, I did more. I brought you hadith, I brought you one, I could have brought you many. I brought you an example from one Sahabi, I brought you one, I could have brought you many. I brought you an example from two men from the Salaf after the Sahaba. I brought you two, I could have brought you many. I could have brought you many. I could have brought you many more using the term Salaf. Like, هذا يكفي inshallah ta'ala. This will suffice us in our situation right here. This is enough. Imam al-Albani rahimahullah said, if one evidence is not enough to convince you, then 1,000 evidences will not convince you. What's wrong with you taking one evidence? If you're sincere, take one. Take one. But if you don't want to take one, 1,000 won't convince you. But inshallah ta'ala, you are a sincere person who's listening, and I ask you that you ask Allah for guidance. Ask Allah to show you the haqq. Allahumma arina al-haqq al-haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah wa arina al-batila batila warzuqna ijtinaba. We ask Allah, show us the haqq as the haqq. Show us the truth as the truth, and give us the ability to follow it. And show us the falsehood as the falsehood, and give us the ability to stay away from it. We say, رَبَّنَا لَا تُسِقْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِنْ لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْوَهَّابُ. We say, oh Allah, do not divert our hearts and place a disease in it. A disease where we will play around with the meanings of the verses and the ayat in the Quran, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Don't do that to us after you've guided us. We say, Ya muqallib al-qulub, oh the one who turns the heart, thabbit qulubuna ala dinik. Keep our heart firm on this religion. This religion is what? ما كان عليه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وصحابته رسول ما كان عليه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وصحابته رضي الله تعالى عنهم أجمعين. What the Prophet was upon, عليه الصلاة والسلام, and what his companions were upon, and what those two generations after them was upon. These two generations, did they go around spilling blood of innocent people? They were being killed. They didn't go around spilling blood of innocent people. And they didn't say, oh, they kill ours, so we're going to kill them. No, they didn't do that. They dealt with what needed to be dealt with, but they didn't go about it in a way that was against the textual evidences. Did they spend their time trying to vote and get involved in politics? No. They did become hukam. They became leaders. But look at their life and the way that they did it. They never did it by once ever get involved in their political systems. They were teaching Tawheed all day, every day, man. That's all that they ever did, brothers and sisters. They were teaching Tawheed all day, every day. And then from that, remember, Tawheed is like planting, is like planting a seed. When you plant a seed, is it your job to make the flower come out? No, Allah makes that come out when He pours down the rain. Your job is to plant the seed, plant Tawheed. From it, Allah will bring you tamkeen, Allah will bring you shawka, Allah will bring you governance, Allah will bring you strength, Allah will bring you authority on the lands. There's no izzah, wallahi, there's no honor, there's no success, there's no falah, there's no najah, there's no safety, there's no security in anything except for the methodology of the Salaf. This is your isma, ya ikhwa, wallahi, pay attention, my brothers. Pay attention. This is our isma. This is what will safeguard us, protect us from division. You know, people always ask, there's so many different opinions, so many different views. He says, I've got hadith. He says, I've got hadith. He says, I got an ayah. He says, I got an ayah. She says, I got an ayah. She says, I got hadith. Brothers and sisters, wallahi, the only way to understand who's really right is to say, who understands this hadith how Abu Bakr did it? Abu Bakr, let him be our guide. Let him be our yardstick that we measure. Him and the rest of the companions. He took a hadith and he used it to justify Mawlid. He took the same hadith and somehow used it to justify killing innocent people and joining ISIS. He took a hadith and he used that same hadith to justify what? Going against the ruler and protesting and whatnot. He took a hadith and he used it to justify what? Selling alcohol. He took a hadith and he used it to justify what? To justify doing da'wah through nasheeds and reaction videos. Everyone's taken their hadith ayah and they all taken out in different ways. The only way to protect yourself is what? Is to say, whoa, 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 whoa. calm down, bro. You took an ayah, but you don't have no right to interpret that. We have the interpretation and the explanation of the Sahaba present with us. These athar, these statements of the companions and their students, موجود عندنا, they are present with us today. They're present with us. That's why you got to seek knowledge to find them. That's why, brothers and sisters, wallahi, I really encourage you. I really encourage you to sign up to the Knowledge College. We set up this online program so you guys can start studying your religion properly. So you can learn what your religion is. Go to the link below, wallahi. So many youngsters have joined us. We even have adults joined us, wallahi. And they're learning for the first time what La ilaha illallah means, what Muhammad Rasulullah means, what the methodology of the Salaf really is. They're learning Arabic language online with us, wallahi. So many other sciences we plan to go through, inshallah ta'ala. Just go to the link below, more information. If you like it, you can join us, inshallah ta'ala. So many youngsters have already started to develop and grow in terms of their knowledge and their understanding of the religion. And hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, you can do the same. Remember, if you don't study and seek knowledge yourself, you're like a dead corpse. A corpse, when a ghusl is being done to it, it has no say. I'm going to pick up your hand and wash you, and I'm going to pick up your legs and your toes. Do you want to be like a corpse being washed? Do you want to be like a dead body in its ghusl? No. That's what you're like when you don't have knowledge. You're just going to take whatever hadith I'm giving you. You don't have any right to argue back, the same way the dead body doesn't have a right to argue back when I want to wash his hand. But you want to now start to become a little bit more independent. Your independence is never independent of the methodology of the Salaf. Like, there's some degree of independence where you can say, you know what, bro, that's dodgy right there. Don't you want to be upon clarity with regards to your religion? Don't you want to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knowing, say, Ya Rab, I worshipped you upon clarity. I worshipped you upon clarity. Inshallah ta'ala, check the link below, Knowledge College. Hopefully join us. If not, next time, see you Manhaj Mondays. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.